Good evening to everyone. We'll start the session. Welcome to this live interactive session for the course Python for Data Science. My name is Sethu Vinayagam. I am a PMR of PhD scholar in the Civil Engineering Department at IIT Madras. Okay, so we'll have these interactive problem solving sessions every week, like for the next 4 weeks of the course. And the idea of having these sessions is to uh, you know uh, to have these live interactions, so where you can get your doubts cleared for the contents that are given for each week, right? So you don't have to wait till the end of the course, so you can get it cleared every week. And also we'll also do some problems which are similar to what you will be facing in the assignments, so based on the week's that week's content. Okay, so that will give you some practice, and also it will help you with solving the assignments and getting good grades. Okay, so that's the agenda behind these conducting these sessions. Yeah, there are some doubts being asked whether these recordings of these sessions will be available. Yeah, it will be made available on YouTube. So there will be one public sheet that will be shared with you, where for the different live sessions that we are conducting, we are having 4 sessions each week. So the recordings will be uploaded in different YouTube channels, and the link of those channels will be made available in that public sheet that you can access. And also the slides that we are using will also be made available. Okay, so with that, so we can get started. So before we get into this, actual discussion of the topics, so I want to how well versed are you with Python or programming in general, or from the data science, so some background of what already. Okay, so how many of you have done some programming before, have any programming experience? Yeah, you can raise your hand to show. Okay, around 1/4 of uh, the students that have joined have some experience. Okay, mostly in C, C++. Some people have done Java. Okay, that's good. Yeah, so with that, Python should be relatively easier compared to C, C++, and Java in terms of the learning curve. The syntax and all will be much simpler, right? And so it should not be difficult to pick up Python. So all the programming concepts like loops and functions that you are familiar with from the other languages, so those concepts will directly apply. Only the syntax you will have to learn, and I would say that is much simpler with Python, right? So it should be much easier. So even for those who do not have any prior experience, it will not be that difficult to pick up Python, right? So it should not be a problem whether you're having any experience earlier or not. Okay, so yeah, so but not many people have done Python, so yeah, I think that should be fine as well. Okay, so has everyone gone through the week one's lectures? You can turn on your video, and you can unmute yourself and answer. That's fine too. Okay, yeah. So if you go through the lectures, beforehand, so it will be much easier, right? So you can whatever doubts you have during that week, yeah, you can collect all those, collate all those, and then you can ask during these sessions, right? So that would be much helpful if you go through the lecture videos beforehand. Yeah, so it's fine. So even though you have just enrolled Disha, so it's fine. So you just have to go through five or six videos for week one. They are short videos, mostly about the background of this course and also setting up your IDs and so on, right? So you can go through it after this session. Yeah. And okay, so have everyone like set up an ID of your choice? Did you face any issues in installation of Python or IDE? Are you able to run Python code in your machines? Okay, so yeah, looks like no one has any issues so far. Yeah, if you haven't installed it, try installing it. So you'll need to run some code. You'll have to try out different scripts. So you should install it soon. Yeah, yeah. So not having any prior knowledge in Python is not an issue. So you can learn it easily. Okay, so I can quickly show you a demo or the process of how you can install. So it depends on the IDE that you are going to use. Okay, so it won't be the same, and also it depends on the kind of operating system that you will be using. But I can just show it for Spider, which is what was shown in the first week, right? So to install it, what you have to do, let me share my screen. Okay. So to get the interpreter of Python, which is what will execute all your code, you have to go to python.org, right? And then go to downloads. So within downloads, you have to choose your operating system. So I'm on Windows. So I click on Windows, and then you'll have different versions of Python. So you can choose the latest release version, right? So if you click on that, and then scroll all the way down, you will be having the installer files given. Okay, you choose the one that is appropriate for your system. So for on Windows, typically yours will be a 64-bit machine if it is a latest one. So you can choose the Windows installer for 64-bit. Right, it will be an executable file. You just double click that executable file and run through the on-screen instructions, and you'll have the Python installer ready. To install Spider, just go to spiderid.org, right? Again, you have to go to download and then click on download for Windows. It will give you the Spider ID executable. You install that executable as well, following the on-screen instructions, and you'll have the ID ready. Okay, that's all you have to do to get the Python installed and also the IDE installed, right? So Python from python.org and Spider from spiderid.org. So those are the two things that you will need to follow along. You can try that, and if you face any issues, we can solve it. Uh, yeah, and so Spider is only one of the choices that you have. You can go with PyCharm, or you can go with Jupyter. So that should not be an issue. Yeah, yeah, VS Code. So any program is fine as long as you are familiar with it, or it is you are comfortable with it. You can stick to one IDE that is suitable for you, right? So it should not be a problem. Okay, so with that done, so we'll get started with the session. So first we'll look at an overview of what was taught in this first week. So mostly it was about an introduction to Python and programming in Python. So we had covered concepts like what does programming in Python mean, right? So Python, as some of you may already know, it's a general purpose programming language, right? So you can use it for data science. You can use it for model building. You can use it for even software development as well. So in many fields, it can be applied. So it's a general purpose language, and it is also popular as a programming language for data science. And so for those of you who are coming from C, C++ and Java background, so the major differences that you will see when you're programming in Python is that Python is a dynamically typed language. Okay, so we have this concept called dynamic typing. So what does that mean is, so in C, C++, when you're creating a variable, what will you do? You will be creating it's something like this, right? So int a. So it means that we are telling at the time of writing the script, right? So what is the variable a going to contain? What kind of values this variable is going to contain? Uh, right? So that's what we call it as static typing. So this type will not change throughout the course of the program, throughout the course of the the program, right? So a will always be an integer. But in Python, we will not be creating variables like this. We'll be creating, say, a is equal to 10, right? So in this case, we are not explicitly defining what is the type of a. And also later on in the program, we can assign it to something like this, right? So the type of a can change at different points during the execution of the program. So that's what we call as dynamic typing, right? So the type of the variable can change through the course of the code. Right? So that's the major difference that you will see, right? So this gives a lot of flexibility, but also it can create issues, right? So just by looking at the variable, you cannot say what is its data type going to be. You have to look at the value that it is containing, right? So that's the major difference that you will see. And also Python allows you to program in different paradigms. Like if you would have studied concepts like oops, like object oriented programming, there'll be another paradigm is called functional programming. So all these paradigms can also be applied in Python as well, like in other languages. And yeah, and also one thing like in C++, you would have studied about like memory allocation and deallocation. So all these uh, are handled automatically by Python. You don't have to worry anything about allocating the memory for variables or deallocating it. So all this makes it more simpler and easier to do in Python. Okay, so that's the basic differences that you will see if you're coming from a different background. And the advantages of using Python is, yeah, so deallocation is basically the opposite of allocating memory. So in languages like C++, when you're creating heaps, when you're allocating variables in the heap memory, so you'll have to explicitly say, so integer array new int of 10, something like this, right? So you'll be creating so at this place you'll be creating a variable, an array of size 10, right? So there'll be space allocated for this 10 integers in the memory. And then whenever this a variable is out of scope, we have to delete the variable a to give the memory back to the operating system, right? So if you forget to do this, there'll be a problem called as memory leak, right? So those kind of issues will not happen in Python because you don't have to worry about the allocation or the deallocation. So that will be handled implicitly by the language itself, right? So all you have to do is just create the variable like any other variable, and the allocation and deallocation part will be taken care. Right. So that's just basically the differences, or the major differences between Python and other statically typed languages that you have out there. And the major advantage that of using Python in for data sciences. One, it is simpler in terms of, say, the syntax. So learning curve is much shallower, right? So you can quickly pick up the language, and there is also a lot of libraries, right? So which have many of the functionalities that you will require already defined. So different data analysis, visualization, even some of the machine learning models. So all these are already written. So you can just import the libraries and directly make use of these. So you can quickly start writing your codes, right? So that's what we call as prototyping, like quickly putting together a working code, right? So this can be done quite efficiently, making use of all these pre-existing libraries. So you can quickly do all this. So those are some of the major advantages, and there is also a lot of users, right? So the Python community is large, right? And so because of that, so there is a lot of development that happens. So like in terms of these libraries, and also the support that you can get through online forums, right? So this all these make Python as a very convincing choice to use it in the data science field. Yeah, so all the previous session links, the current one will all be put together in that single public sheet that will be shared with you. Uh, yeah, so AAML you can do, yeah, with so we will be introducing you to some of the libraries, right? So through that you can use ML and AI models. So you can do that. Yeah. So you can interrupt me anytime in the middle. You can unmute yourself and ask. Okay, so I want this to be interactive. Okay, so this is not your standard classroom environment. Okay, so you can feel free, relax. You can unmute and you can ask your questions, right? So you don't have to wait. I may miss the chat because I'm looking at the screen. So if it's something important, please unmute yourself and ask. And in the last part of the introduction, we were also looking at the different coding environments, right? So coding environments are basically the different IDEs. So IDE stand for Integrated Development Environment. So here we were looking at like Spider, PyCharm, Jupyter, like as and also as others mentioned. So there's also VS Code, Atom. So there are so many IDEs that are out there, right? So what is the advantage that we are going to get by using this IDE? So first of all, you don't need an IDE to work with Python. So all you need is a text file, text editor, basically, to write your code, right? And then you need the Python interpreter that, as I showed, you can download from python.org, and using the command line, you can execute the code file that you have written, the text file, right? So that's all the basic things that you need. But what is the advantage that we get by moving to an IDE is basically the efficiency of how we write the programs and debug the programs increases because of the tools that these IDEs offer. So basically what we will get is syntax highlighting. So there'll be different, color coding that will be given. For example, there will be some reserved words, for different functions that the language offers. These are called keywords. So those keywords will be highlighted differently. Your function, names will be highlighted differently. So this makes it easier to, compartmentalize and see the different parts of your code easily. And there'll be linting tools. So linting tools are basically like static code analysis. So even before you run your code, so based on the rules of the language, if there are any errors, so those can be caught using this linting tools, right? So for example, you would have seen in the lectures of variable naming conventions, right? So what kind of names are allowed? and what kind of names are not allowed, right? So these are set rules, by the language, and you don't have to run the code to identify errors in the variable names, right? So the IDE will help you. It will show you if you have made a mistake in the variable naming. It will help you even before you run the code. It will highlight that there is an error in this line, right? So it is easier to catch such kind of errors using the linting tools, and this is provided by the IDEs. And also there'll be tools like debuggers. So debuggers are tools which help you identify errors in your program, right? So these are errors that you may miss from a static analysis that the linter offers, right? So these could be because of some logical errors that are perfectly valid a Python code, but still does not give you the desired output. So in that case, you can go through the debugger. As your program is executing, you can line by line check how the variables are created, how the values of the variables are getting changed, and that helps you to identify if anything is going out of the logic that you intended to be, and you can correct those, right? So that's how the debugger helps. So these are some of the tools that we can get by using the IDE. So that's why it's recommended that you use an IDE when you are programming. Okay.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, go ahead. So your friend is not able to join, probably because Google Meet might have some limit. I think there are 100 people in the meet right now. Yeah, maybe I'll look into it before the next session, what can be done. But maybe for this session, your friend can look into the recording. Yeah, when you're importing some module, we have to look into what kind of error it is. Uh, yeah, if you can give the error message, I can probably help you with that. Uh, yeah, maybe something. So we'll look into that at the end of the session. Okay, so what is the specific error? Okay, so moving ahead. So next we were looking at Spider IDE, right? So we saw like what how the GUI of the Spider IDE looks, right? So we have like three different panes in right? So in major, so one is the scripting window, so where you will write all your codes, and then you'll have a console. So this is where you'll get your output, and then there'll be another pane where you can view your files or the variables that you have created, as your program runs, right? So these are the three major portions, and then you'll have your menu, as in any other application like the file menu, edit menu, and so on, right? So this is the major parts of your Spider IDE GUI, right? So this console is the output window, but also you can interactively work with the console, so where you can enter a command and then immediately get the output for it, right? So that way you can interactively work with the console to test out some code, right? So single line of command you can type, and then once you hit enter, you'll immediately get the output. Or you can type all your code in the script, and then when you run the script, you'll get the output of the complete script in the console, right? So that's the GUI. And then we also looked at how to set working directory. So working directory is basically what when you're working with paths. For example, say in a folder you have your Python script, right? So it will be with an extension .py, and there are and some data files, let us say you have in some other folder, right? And in your script, if you are going to refer to this data file, so the script will not be able to find that because it is residing in a different folder. So in that case, what you will have to do is you have to change your working directory, right? So in that, so changing your working directory means the script is going to assume that it is running from the directory that you have specified. So say this is in some folder called C users, say data. So when you change your working directory to this folder, so then your script will be able to find the file that you are referring to. right? So that's how the working directory helps. Setting the working directory helps in order to find the files, right? So there are different methods that we have seen. So one is you can use the GUI. So in the pane that you have for the different files and variables, so there will be a GUI icon, like a button that you can use to select the folder that you want to set as the current working directory. Or there is a OS module, so which has a function called change dir. So when you run this command in the console, right, so it will change your directory to the one that you specified, right? So you import OS and then you call the OS dot change directory function with the path to the directory that you want to change to. And the third way is to use the cd command. So this also you will enter in the console cd, and then you give the path of the directory that you want to change to, right? So there are multiple ways in which you can set the working directory. So you choose the one that you're more comfortable with. And then we also looked at working with scripts. So when you are trying out initially, so using the console is much easier, right? So as I said, the console will help you work with it interactively. You enter a line of code. Yeah. So when you're working with the initially when you're working with the console, you enter a line of code, and then when you hit enter, you will get the output, right? So that is easier when you are beginning out, trying out different things. But as you get more experience and you want to write bigger programs, so in that case you'll have to execute multiple commands. So entering each of them individually will be a hassle, right? And also when you want to run the same set of commands again, so typing out everything will also be difficult. So what we do, we create script files. So script files are again nothing but text files that have a .py extension. Okay, so let's say this is script.py. Okay, so in this you'll just write all your code. For example, a equal to 10, uh, print a, right? So this is a simple program, right? So we are going to create a variable a, and then we are going to print the value that is contained in this variable, right? So when you save this file, so this set of commands is going to uh, you know uh, reside in your memory, and then you can execute the script as many times as you want, and you'll be able to go through all the commands in one shot, right? So you don't have to specifically type each of them again and again. So that's how we will be working with scripts. And for executing this, again, there'll be a run icon in Spider. Okay, again, this will vary depending on the ID that you are using. Okay, so when you execute run that script, so you will all the lines of code that you have in your script will be run sequentially, right? So from the top to bottom, all the lines will be executed, and the output will be available in your console window. Right, so yeah, console we have already seen. So using the console, then we were also looking at variables and data types, right? So now we have an IDE setup, right? So we can write some code and then get some output. So how do we do? So first we will need to work with some variables, right? So variables are basically you can think of variables as something that points to values in your program. Okay, so what are values? So values are like numbers, strings, and right, and floating point numbers, decimal numbers, integers. So all these are values. For example, 5, the text, say ABC, like 2.3, true, false. So all these are values. Okay, and what are variables? So variables are things that point to values, right? So for example, So think of your computer memory as a box. Okay, a location in your computer memory is like a box, and this box can contain values. For example, the value of 5 is contained at a certain location in your computer, right? And let us say we have created a variable. For example, a is equal to 5. Like this, we have created a variable in our program. So what this means is the variable a contains the location of where this value is lying. Okay, so this variable a now points to the location of this value 5. So when we are saying say print 5, print a, so what does the code do is, so it knows that a is a variable, okay, and then it goes to the location that a is pointing to, and it will print the value that is contained in that location. So what you will get as output is 5. Okay, so that is what variable is. And why are we calling it as a variable? Because suppose there is a value somewhere else, say 10, and in our code after this, so we are going to say a is equal to 10. So in that case, so the value has changed, but the variable will now be pointing to the new value. Okay, so it will now point to 10. It will point to a different location. So when we print a again, so this time we will get 10. Why? Because the variable has the value that the variable was pointing to has changed. Okay, so because it's pointing to a new location, so that's what a variable is. It points to a variable points to a value in your computer memory, and it can change as the program runs, depending on how we are allocating or assigning the values to it. And we were looking at naming rules, like there are some rules that we have to follow when we are creating the naming rules. So apart from the rules, the basic idea is you have to name your variables with names that are that convey what that variable is supposed to contain. For example, if I want to create a variable that contains the location to some data file, okay, say users project data.txt. Okay, somewhere like this there is a file that contains the data. Okay, so if I want to store the location of this file in a variable, I could do a is equal to this string. Okay, so but looking at just the name of the variable, I'm not able to guess what this value is, right? But if I give a name like say location of data is equal to, and I give the same thing here. Okay, so this a is also a variable name, location of data is also a variable name. Okay, so both will work in the same way in the within the program, whether I chose the name a or whether I chose the name location of data. But choosing the name location of data is much more explicit in terms of what that variable is containing, right? So even without looking at the value that is assigned to it, I can know this location of data is going to contain the path where I can find the data file, right? So that's the convention that we have to follow, right? So it has to be, the naming has to be more useful when you are reading the code, right? So it should tell you what that variable is supposed to contain. But apart from this, there are some rules that we have to follow when we are creating such names. So those rules are, so basically there are only three rules. So one is the variable name can contain alphabet, so lower and uppercase both are allowed, numbers, and underscore. Okay, so this is underscore. Only these three set of characters are allowed in the name of the variable, right? So it can contain small a to small z, or capital A to capital Z, numbers like 0 to 9, and underscore. Only these are the set of allowed characters that you can have in the name of your variable. And your variable name uh, can start with an underscore or alphabet. Okay, so numbers cannot be variable name. And finally, any other special characters are not allowed. like for example asterisk, at the rate. So all these kind of characters are not allowed in your variable names, right? So these are the simple rules that we have to follow when we are naming our variables, right? So again, all this errors will be caught when you are using an ID. If you are not following these rules, it is much easier to identify these kind of errors. Okay, then we also looked at what are the data types, right? So what is the data type? So I earlier said, so we are when we are working with values, so there are different kinds of values. For example, five is a natural number, right? It's an integer value. So this is a integer value. So it is having a data type called int. Okay. So suppose there is the number 2.3. So this is not an integer, right? So because it has a fractional component, it has a decimal component. So these kind of decimal values, these are called floating point numbers, right? So the data type that corresponds to this is called as float. Then we can also have some text data type. Okay, for example, if you want to represent some text like hello world, so this is called a string, a set of characters. It can be a single character or it can be a set of sequence of characters. So that is called a string data type. And another difference that you will see from other programming languages is, for example, in C or C++, you will use a single quotation mark for a single character, and you will use a double quotation mark when you have more than one character. But in Python, single quotes or double quotes can be used for the string data type, right? It doesn't matter, they are interchangeable. So single quote ABC is the same as double quote ABC. Okay, so you can use either way, but you cannot mix and match. You cannot start with a single quote and end with a double quote. So those kind of things you can't do. You have to use them in pairs, right? So if you start with a single quote, you have to close the string with a single quote. If you start with a double quote, you have to close it with a double quote. Okay, so but you can use them interchangeably. There is no difference between using a single or a double quote. And so we also have some other data types like boolean or binary values, true and false, right? Like 1 and 0. So this is called a boolean data type, and it's called bool in Python. Okay, and we also have several others like complex numbers, so complex data type. uh, okay, so this is like there will be a real part, say 4 plus 3j. So there will be a real part and there will be an imaginary part. So these kind of values can also be represented. Okay, so we were introduced to these data types, and we also looked at how to identify, given a variable in our program, how do we know what type of data that this variable is containing. So that's called identification. Verification is if we know that this particular variable is supposed to contain a value of, say, float. Is it containing that value of float, right? Okay, so doing that check, that is called verification. And coercion is changing data from one type to another. For example, if I have a floating point number and I want to convert it into an integer, right? So that change is called coercion. So how do we do all this? So let me erase what I have. Okay, so how do you first identify the type of the variable? So there is a function called type in Python. Okay, so functions, when you want to call functions, so this is the basic syntax that you will type the name of the function and you will put an opening and closing parenthesis. So that means that this function is being called, right? So a function is nothing but a predefined set of codes that will get executed when you are calling it. Okay, so calling the function means typing the function name and then putting opening and closing parenthesis. So that will execute whatever codes of line that has been previously defined that should be run when this function is called. And there we can also send some values to this function. Okay, so the type function, what we can send is, we can send a variable, okay, or an object like this. Suppose in our program we had defined a is equal to 10. Okay, and then we are going to call type of a. So what this will give us as output is what is the data type of the variable a. Okay, so in this case, since a is containing an integer value, so the output of this function call would be int. Okay, so using this type function we can identify what is the type of data that a variable contains. Okay, suppose if we change a is equal to abc and then call type of a again, so in this case the output that it will return is str, which means that a is a string variable. Okay, so that's how we will identify what kind of data is present in a given variable. So the second part for verification, if we want to compare, if we want to check whether a variable contains a data of a particular type, so what we will do is there is an operator called is. Okay, so this is will help us identify whether the data types are same. So if you want to check whether type of a is int, okay, so we will do it like this. Okay, so type of a is int. If we execute this in the console, so now we saw that a is containing a string value, and because type of a will return string, so this will basically evaluate to string is int, and string and int are not same, right? So this will be returning false, right? So false means they are not equal, not the same. So is the operator that we will be using to compare whether the data types are same. Okay, and for example, if sorry, so when a was 10, if we typed type of a is int, so it will return true. Okay, so that's how we do the verification. And finally, there is coercion. Coercion, as I said, it is when you want to change the type of the data from one data type to another. For example, if we had a as 5.6, okay, so what is the type of a? So type of a, so it will be what? It will be float. Right, suppose I didn't want a to be a floating data, a floating point number. I want a to be an integer. So in that case, how will we do? So we use the data type. Okay, so for example, I want it to be an int, so we call int of a. Okay, so in this case, what will happen when we use the data type and then pass the name of the variable, it will try to convert the value that a points to into the type that we have called. Okay, so in this case, the output would be 5. Okay, so 5 is the integer value. It will just drop the fractional part and then return you the integer value. Okay, and if we had say a was a string 5, so in this case the type of a, so even though the string contains a number, this is still not considered to be an integer, right? So because we have surrounded it with double quotes, so the type of a would be a string. Okay, and if you wanted it to be an integer, we have to say int of a, and in this case we will get 5 as the output. Okay, so that's how we will convert the type of data from one data type to another data type. Okay, so these are the three things that we have seen under data types. And finally, we were looking at what are the operators, right? So we have two things, operators and operands. Okay, so before that, you should know what an
Hello,
expression is.
Setu. This is Neetu Bhardwaj. I have a question regarding this change of variable.
Yeah.
There was one of the question in the practice sheet in which there was a variable which was either a float or an integer, and then it was changed to string.
Okay.
Something like string within quotes float within that another bracket variable a, and then we were asked what would be the final result.
Okay.
So, how will we do that kind of a question?
Uh,
I'll just try typing it in the chat box. There was this question I think in the assignment was
Can you put it again?
String,
I think it has
yeah, just a second. I'm putting it in the chat.
okay. Go ahead.
And if A is supposed to be, let's say, 15,
Okay.
then like finally, what would be the result come out to be?
Okay. So if A is 15, so you
Maybe
want to do
anything. It could be just like,
string of float of A, right? So what you have to do is you have to go from inside to outside. Okay.
Okay,
So you're starting with A. So now A is containing 15. So the first operation that will take place is converting A into a float. Okay. So what is the output
okay.
of float of A?
It would be 15.0.
Yeah, because floating point numbers will have some decimal component, and in this case, it will be 15.0. So now
All
this
right.
expression reduces to string of 15.0, right?
Okay.
So
Okay.
now what will be the output of string of 15.0? Will be 15.0 with then double quotes.
Okay, within quotes.
Yeah.
All right. So my concern was, can this kind of a thing actually happen in Python, where like this is the kind of thing we do with mathematical operations.
Hmm.
One operation within the other, but this variable kind of a thing, can this be done in Python?
Yes, yes, yes. So that's where I was coming to. So expression. So expression is nothing but a combination of values, variables, and operators. Okay. So we have operators like arithmetic operators, addition, subtraction, and so on. We have some comparison operators and so on. So we have a list of operators, and then we have variables as we have seen, like A, so the location that we had defined earlier, and so on. So we have some variables, and then we also have literal values themselves, like 5, 10, the string within double quotes, and so on, right? So these are three components, okay, that can make up an expression. An expression is nothing but a combination of these variables, values, and the um, operators. Okay, and for example, if I say 5 plus 10, so this is a expression. Okay, and if I say a is 5, then a plus 2.3, so this is another expression. If I just say 5, this is also an expression, okay, even without any variables or operand, it can contain all of that. It can contain some of them as well, okay. So all these are expressions, okay. So it's made up of values, variables, and operators. And what do expressions do is, expressions will finally evaluate to a single value at the end, okay. For example, 5 plus 10 evaluates to 15, right? So a plus 2.3, because a was containing 5, will become 7.3, and 5 will just evaluate to itself 5, right? So all expressions will finally evaluate down to a single value. And how this evaluation occurs, so that depends on the so what we'll be looking at later as precedence of operators, right? So if we had multiple operators, or multiple, say, function calls, like what we had seen earlier, so how do this how in what order do these operations take place? So that's defined in the precedence, okay. So these are followed, these precedence is followed to simplify all the expressions down to a single value.
Good, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good, good. Thumbs up.
Yeah. Tamanna, do you have a question?
Good, good, good.
I can't hear you. Maybe you can
Where
use the
is
chat if you have a question. Okay. Um, yeah. So that's what we have in operators versus operands, right? So operators are like your arithmetic operators, addition, subtraction, and so on. Operands are the values on which these operators work, right? So for example, when we do 5 plus 3, okay, so here the plus is your operator, right? And the values that this operator works on are this 5 and 3, right? So these are your operands, right? So operands need not be just values, it can be variables as well, right? For example, if we do a plus 2.5, right? So in this case, both A and 2.5 are your operands, right? So the plus operator works with these two, value and variable. So those are the operands for the plus operator, right? So that's the distinction between what an operand is and what an operator is, okay? And again, so these are the different types of operators that we have seen. So arithmetic operators. So what are the different arithmetic operators in Python? So we have addition, we have subtraction, we have multiplication. So for multiplication, we use the asterisk symbol. Okay, and we have division. So using a backslash, forward slash, and then we have something called as floor division. So we use double forward slash. So what's the difference between division and floor division is, for example, if you do 1/2, so that will a regular division will give you a floating point output, right? So 1/2 will give you 0.5 as the output. But when you do a floor division, so 1 floor division 2 will give you 0, right? So it will only give you the quotient of the division. It will not give you a fractional part. It will give you only the quotient of the division. So that's the fraction floor division. And then you have the modulus operator. So this will basically give you the remainder of the division, right? So for example,
Sir,
yeah,
now you are teaching about arithmetic operators, right, sir?
yes.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So then we have the modulo. So modulo 1, modulo 2, what it will give you? It will give you the remainder of that divisional operation. So 1 modulo 2. So we already saw the quotient is 0. So what is the remainder? So the remainder will be 1, right? So these are your arithmetic operators. And you also have exponentiation. So using 2 asterisk symbol, right? So what is exponentiation? It is raising one number to the power of other. For example, 2 cubed. Okay, so if you want to represent this, so we will use the exponentiation operator. So 2 followed by 2 asterisk and then 3. So this will evaluate to 8. Okay, 2 raised to the power of 3. So for that we use the exponentiation operator. So these are your arithmetic operators in Python. And then we have assignment operators. So assignment operators, so that's what we have been seeing all along. So when you want to assign a value, right, to a variable, so we use the assignment operators, right? So as you have seen, so a is equal to 5.6. In this case, the value 5.6 is assigned to the variable a. So this is achieved by using the assignment operator, a single equal to sign, right? So there are also some other, we can also combine this assignment and the arithmetic operators. For example, let us say a. Yeah, Neha, you have a question? Okay, so suppose we had a variable a with a value 5, and if we did a plus equals 2. Okay, so what happens in this case is, so first, so this is a shorthand for this expression, a is equal to a plus 2. Okay, so this a plus equals 2 is basically a shorthand notation for doing addition and then the assignment. Okay, so what will happen is, in this case, first two value of 2 will be added to the variable a, and then it will be assigned back to a. Okay, so this will be 5 plus 2, a is equal to 7. Okay, so that's this is also one type of assignment. Okay, an arithmetic operation followed by an assignment. So we can do it with others also, like a minus equal to 2, a by equal to, right? So a times equal to, like so on, right? So first this arithmetic operation will happen, and the result of that will be assigned back to the same variable. So that's how the assignment operators work. Then we also saw some relational operators. So relational operators is used to compare two values or two expressions or two variables, right? For example, when we have a is equal to 5, b is equal to 7, and we want to know which is greater, right? So a greater than b. So this will evaluate, so this relational operators will give you the output as true or false, right? So the binary variable. So a greater than b, in this case it is false. That will be the output, right? If we did a less than b, it would give you true. We also have other relational operators. So greater than equal to, less than equal to. If you want Okay, and then you have the equality, so where you can compare whether two variables are containing the exactly the same value. Okay, for example, if there was another variable c which had a value of 7, so b equals c would give you true, right? And but a equals b will be false. So you have to be careful here. This is very similar to the assignment operator, right? So we used equal to for assignment, but double equal to is for comparison. Okay, so here we are not assigning the value of c to b. Here we are just checking whether b and c are containing the same value or not. Okay, so double equals means it is comparison. Single equal to means it is assignment. Okay, and we also have something called not equal to. So we use the exclamatory mark followed by equal to. So this will return true if the values are not same. Okay, so a not equal to b will return true, right? So because a is containing 5, b is containing 7, so they are not equal, so a not equal to b is true. Okay, yeah, so these are the relational operators that we were looking at. Then there are logical operators. So logical operators are or and not. Okay, so what or does is, so it is a binary operator, which means it requires two operands to work with, right? So let us say a or b, right? So what happens in this case? So the left hand side will be one expression, right hand side will be one expression. So this will be simplified to one value. Okay, so either like true or false. And similarly, the right hand side will be simplified to true or false. And what OR does is, so if either one of the operand is true, the output will be true. And if both of them are false, the output will be false. Okay, so that's what the OR operator does. For example, in this case, if we did A or B, right, so it is 5 or 7. Right, so Python has some rules on what is considered to be true and what is considered to be false. So all the non-zero values will be considered to be true. Okay, so 5 will be considered to be true, 7 will also be considered to be true. So true or true will evaluate to true. Okay, and the AND operator, what it will do is it will return true only if both of them are true, right? So in this case, this will also be true because both 5 and 7 are true. But if we did say a and 0, okay, so a, because it contains a value 5, it will be true, and 0 is considered to be false. Okay, so true and false will evaluate to false. Okay, so these are the logical operators, and the final one is not. So not is a unary operator, so which means it requires only one operand. It does not require two, it does not take two, it only uses one operand. So and the operand comes after the not. Okay, so not, let us say a equals b. So if we give this expression, so first what will happen, this expression will first simplify to a single value. So we want to evaluate first a equals b, and a equals b is false, right? So because they are containing different values. So not of false, what not does is just negates, right? So it just changes whatever is the value next to it, right? So if it is false, it will become true. So not false will become true. Okay, so that's what the not operator does. So these are the logical operators. And we also looked at bitwise operator. So this works with the binary representation of the values. Okay, and so in bitwise also we have bitwise OR, and then we have bitwise and then we also have bitwise and then the negation, right? So this will negate all the bits. And we also have bitwise shift to the right and bitwise shift to the left. You don't need to use this generally. Okay, so we will look into these things as and when they are required. Okay, so for now I'm skipping this to not to add to the complexity, but if you have any specific questions, you can ask me and then I'll try to answer it. Okay. And then finally, we are looking at the precedence of operators. And so, as I said earlier, the precedence of operator is used when we are simplifying the expressions down to a single value, right? So, which when we have multiple operators and operands in a single function, in a
Sir,
single expression, how do we reduce that to a single value?
sir,
Yeah, Arun, go ahead.
can you explain once again the bitwise operator, sir?
Yeah, so bitwise operators will work with the binary representation. For example, if you have, so the binary representation of 0 is basically 0, right? And the binary representation of 1 is 1, okay? So maybe we'll go for 2 also. So 2 will be 1 0. Okay, let's say we want to compare 1 and 2. Okay, so 1 can be represented as 0 1. So the number of zeros that you add in front of the binary representation doesn't count. You can have as many zeros. So 1 is 0 1 and 2 is 1 0. Okay, and if you want to use the bitwise OR, okay, so what bitwise OR does, so the each digit that we have in the binary representation is 1 bit. Okay, so this 1 is 1 bit, this 0 is another bit, right? Similarly here, so we have 2 bits in this representation, right? So what bitwise OR does, so as the name suggests, it operates on each bit, right? So 1 bit at a time. So it will compare the corresponding bits. Okay, so first, so these 2 bits are in the same position, and these 2 bits are in the same position, and this OR operator is applied to those bits. So for example, so this 0 and this one, right? As I said, 0 is a falsy value and 1 is the truthy value, right? So, and OR, what it does, when either of the operand is true, then the output will be true. Okay, so in that positions, because 1 or 0, so the output will be 1 because one of them is a truthy value. So in the next one, 0 and 1, okay, we'll be comparing 0 with 1, and again the OR is applied, 0 or 1, so the output will still be 1 because one of them is a truthy value. So this will also become 1. So the output of,
Bitwise, sir,
yeah,
bitwise is just representing the logical operator, right, sir?
yeah, just applying the logical operator but to the bits of the binary representation.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so the output
Sir,
of 1 bitwise
sir,
2 would be 11, and what is 11? 11 is basically 3 in decimal format.
sir, it's me Vishwajit, sir. I want to ask you that how many types of operator in bitwise operator there?
Yeah, so we have the bitwise OR, bitwise AND, the bitwise NOT, then we have bitwise shift operators, shift to the right and shift to the left. Okay, did that answer your question? Okay. So finally, the final topic that was discussed was the precedence of operators, right? So in what order will the expressions be, evaluated to arrive at the single value? So first we have at the top of the precedence is parenthesis. Sorry. So parenthesis takes the top priority. Okay. So whenever you have something within the brackets, so you'll have to evaluate the content within the bracket first. Okay, so that takes the topmost priority, and after the parenthesis, you will have the exponentiation operator. So within from the arithmetic operators, so you have to do the exponentiation. So within the parenthesis, if you have multiple operators, you have to first do the exponentiation. Okay, so then you'll have to look for if there is any division operation that is there, and do that first. Then you have to look for any multiplication operation that may be present and do that next. Then addition and subtraction. So these addition and subtraction have equal precedence. That means they can be done in any order, doesn't matter. And then you will have the bitwise operators of the bitwise and the bitwise OR. So those will take precedence. then all your relational operators like double equals, not equals, less than, greater than, right? So all this, so again they are of equal precedence, so the order of in which they are performed doesn't matter. So so these are done next. Then you have the logical operators, the not and or. Okay, so this is the order in which you have to evaluate from top to bottom, right? So when you are looking at an expression, you have to see whether these things are there, and if they are there, so the order in which they have to be evaluated is this. Okay, so for example, if we had say we want to say a is equal to 2 plus 3 uh, times 5. Okay, so in this case we don't have any parentheses. Okay, so then we have to look at the other things. So we have a plus operator and a multiplication operator. So as we know, multiplication takes precedence over addition and subtraction. So first we have to do this part. Okay, so 2 plus will be there and this part will be evaluated first. So 3 into 5, 15, right? So that simplified to 2 plus 15. So then we only have the addition operation left. So 2 plus 15 will be 17. And so the final assignment would be 17, okay, to the variable. So that's how we will be simplifying all the um, expressions. Okay, any further questions?
No, sir.
Okay. So that is clear. So then we'll look at some sample problems for this week. Okay. So based on what we have learned so far.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, after addition and subtraction, what is the next operator which we are giving preference for?
Yeah, 1 second. Yeah. So first, so after addition, yeah, we had parenthesis, we have exponentiation, we have division, multiplication, then addition, subtraction. So after this, you have your bitwise operator. So the bitwise or and the bitwise and. Okay, so you have to do the bitwise operations. Then you have to do your sorry, your bitwise and then bitwise or then your logical operators. Okay, then your sorry, relational and then logical. So relational and logical. So this is the order. So first is parenthesis, then arithmetic, then bitwise, then relational, and then logical. Okay, so within your relational operators, so all are equal. Okay, so there is no change there. Again, within logical, there is an order. So there is or and not. So within bitwise, you have bitwise and followed by bitwise or. Within arithmetic, you have this order. Is that clear?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sir, at which point of this precedence list we can use a percentile operator? That is the remainder operator we are going to find out.
Yeah, so reminder. I'm not sure. I will check and get back. I haven't looked into that.
Okay, sir.
Okay, anything else? Okay. So, okay, we'll move on to the questions. Okay, the
Sir,
first.
I have a question, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Which type of program we use shifting operator?
Sorry, can you repeat?
I asked that which type of programs we use the shifting operators. It means bitwise operator. You
Okay.
just
Yeah. So bitwise shifting operator, right? So what the bitwise shift does is So when you have some representation like 0 1 0, okay, and you want to shift this by one place, so what it will do, all the bits will be moved towards the right by one bit. Okay, so the last bit will be dropped because there is nothing after this. So the last bit will be dropped and the next ones will take their place. Okay, so 0, so it will become 0 0 1. So this bitwise shift operators are generally used, as an efficient way of doing, say, exponentiation. Right, so there are some tricks that people use to efficiently perform these exponentiations using the bitwise shift operators. So when you want to raise something to the say square, so those can be sometimes easily or efficiently performed using the bitwise shift, because your bits are basically in binary. They are representing some powers of 2, right? So the first bit is 2 power 0, then you have 2 to the power 1, 2 to the power 2, and so on, right? So it's basically the product of these two and then summing it up. So 1 into 2 power 0 plus 0 into 2 power 1 plus 0 into 2 power 2. So the output of this is 1, right? So 0 0 1 corresponds to 1. Uh, Okay, so that because these are represented as the powers of 2, sometimes this using the shift operators we can achieve these exponentiations to the power of 2 like more efficiently. So in those cases it's used, but it's not typically, you will not be typically be using these, so you don't have to worry too much.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, the first question is, which of the following are operators and which are values? Okay, so I think we saw that, right? So in operators, operands, so we have multiple options here. So we have an asterisk, value within within single quotes, minus 88.8, then minus slash division plus and 5, right? So we have to classify them as operators and values. So you can put your answers in the chat. We already have one answer. So whatever you think is right, so you can put it in the chat. Okay, ADEF. What is ADEF? Is it ADEF for operators or ADEF for values? Okay, operators. Yeah. So ADEF. Yeah, BCG for values. So BCG. Okay, so A is your multiplication operator. Right, so all these are your arithmetic operators, right? Multiplication, subtraction, division, and addition. So these are your operators, and these are literal values, right? So hello is your string value, minus 88.8 is float, and 5 is an integer value. Okay, so this is straightforward. Okay, if you have any doubts or any questions, you feel free to stop me anywhere. Okay, why option B is an value? Yeah, because I said like the string values are represented using double quotes or single quotes, right? So anything that is within double quote or anything within single quote, so those are considered as the string values, right? So because this is a hello is a string, right? So because it is within single quote, it's not the name of a variable. Okay, is that clear, Moraya? Okay. So moving forward, question 2. So which of the following is a variable and which is a string? Okay, one answer is both are allowed.
A is variable, B is spam. See the string.
Yeah. Okay, A is variable, B is string. Yeah, so I think everyone has got that. So A is a variable and B is a string. Okay, so why can't A be a string?
Single quote.
Yeah, so we
Enclosed
have
quote.
not used single or double quotes to specify it, so we can't use it as a string. But why can't b be a variable?
Because it
Because it
comes
is enclosed with single quotes.
Okay, so because it is having the single quotes, it violates the naming rules, right? So according to the naming rules, we cannot have anything other than alphabet, numbers, or underscore, right? So single quote is not a valid variable name, right? So therefore b cannot be a variable name. Okay, question number 3, we have to name 3 data types. So can you name?
Integer, float, boolean.
Yeah, integer, float, boolean. So integer, your integer values like 1, 2, 3, and -1, -3, so anything like that. So all your integer values. Float, anything with your decimal component, right? So -2.5 and so on. Boolean, so bool, so only two
string is
values.
also a data type, sir.
Yeah, string is another data type. So string will be any text or anything. So it can be numbers as well, any alphanumeric or any symbol. So that is present within, double quotes or single quotes, right? So anything else, any other data types?
Characters, CHR.
Yeah, there is no specific separate data type for character in Python, right? So characters will also be strings. So there is no differentiation between this and this. So both are considered to be strings.
Complex is as well data type.
Yeah, complex. Think in chat someone has said double. So double is also, it's not basically defined in the basic data types, but double is separately defined as in a library. Okay, so double can also be a data type.
Dictionary.
Dictionary will not be. Yeah, we can consider dictionary is a type, a class type, right? So yeah, dictionary and many other data types are there for collections. Yeah, so dictionaries, lists, sets, so those are like
Set types.
set types. Yeah, so those are not basic, but we can say derived data types, right? So using classes. So those are advanced, so we will look into that later on. Okay, so you don't have to worry about those. So from what we have learned so far, the basic types would suffice for now. Yeah, long and short end. So there is again no differentiation between long and short end in Python. So Python integers, so basically they can handle all. There's no limit specifically that is imposed by Python to what an integer data type can store, right? So in C, C++, you may have short end,
Sir,
long int, and so on. But in Python, all this can be represented by int itself. So there is no
sir,
difference
may I
there.
have a difference between the float and double?
Yeah, float and double in terms of the precision that they represent. So double is very similar to float, but it is more guaranteed to be more precise when you are doing the operations. So it's an advantage that double gives. But floating points, when you are doing some operations, arithmetic operations, the precision of the floating points may, because of that, you'll have some rounding issues and so on. So that is overcome by using the double data type. So very similar to float, again for decimal values, but for more precise floating point calculations, we'll use the double data type. Yeah, date time. So those are like advanced or specific data types. So that those are like derived ones, right? So the basic ones are here. So date time you have to again import it from a date time module. Yeah, that can also be a,
Excuse me, sir.
yeah.
Sir, can array be a data type?
Yeah, array can be a data type. Yes.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, so double is basically your like your floating points only. But when you're doing some arithmetic operations on this floating points, So sometimes there is a limit to how much you can represent, how many decimals you can represent accurately or precisely using the floating point numbers, right? So when you have more, decimal places, decimal points, so the floating point, when you exceed that, the floating point calculations will not be accurate. Whereas with the double, you will be able to represent more decimal places accurately in your calculations. So both are decimal values. Okay. So moving on. So question 4, what is an expression made up of and what do all expressions do? Okay, there is one before that. There's one question. What give an example of triple quote string? I didn't mention it earlier, right? So triple quotes can also be used when you want to create string.
Multi-line string.
Yeah, so multi-line strings can be created. So for example, if you created a string like this, like ABC, do line 2.
It is also used to comment out, sir.
Yeah, it can be used for commenting. So basically it's a multi-line string. So here in the string I have this string is overflowing and then going into multiple lines, right? So I have actually given I have pressed an enter here. So this is not visible, okay? But to create this, I would have pressed enter, right? ABCD, I would have pressed enter, gone, then typed line 2, pressed enter, and then pressed and then typed and then finished it with another triple quotes. So when we are printing this, we will get the output as ABCD line 2 and n. Okay,
Sir, about
the
sequence
multiple
type.
lines will be retained in the string. Whereas if we used only double quotes, right, ABCD and then entered line 2, so we can't do it like this. So double quoted strings, they cannot flow into multiple lines. Okay, if we had to represent this, what we should do in multi-line to get this multi-line string, so we should use some escape characters called,
Sir,
yeah, 1 second. Yeah, so if we have to achieve the same output, so then we have to use some escape character for introducing this new line. So ABCD slash n line 2 slash n n and then the double quote. So this will also give you the output as ABCD line 2 and n. But instead of using this escape characters, if we use the triple quoted string, we can directly type those new lines in the script. Yeah, Arun, did you have a question?
sequence types, sir.
Sequence types. So we have like lists,
Tuple and
tuple,
range.
states, right? So it's a even string is a sequence. So it's a sequence of characters.
Range also.
Yeah, range. So range will basically give you an implicit type. So you have to convert this into a list or a tuple explicitly. So like list
Okay.
of range will give you. Yeah. Otherwise, you have to use it as a generator value.
Okay,
So
sir.
yeah, so that's what the difference between a double quote and a single quote string versus a triple quoted string. So these are new lines that you enter. So in the within the string, so those will be maintained instead of using those escape characters. Yeah. So yeah, the answer for fourth. Yeah, some people have said expression is combination of values, operators, operator, operand. Yeah, so it is. So expression is a combination of operators, operands, and values, right? So several examples we saw. So just the values themselves are also expressions, right? Like 5, 7.2, or a combination of operators, variables, and values, right? So the variables and values will become the operand for the operators. Okay. So like a plus b, a plus 3.2, or 5 times 7, okay, plus 3.2 times 6. So all these are expressions, okay. So it can be just values themselves, or it can be variables, operators and values, or it can just be values and operators. So any of these. So these are all expressions. And what do all expressions do? So expressions will evaluate to a single value, right? So 5 evaluates to 5, 7.2 to 7.2. So a plus b is whatever is the value, depending on the value contained in a2. So find a to evaluate to something, and so on, right? So all expressions will finally evaluate to a single value. Okay, moving on to question 5. So what does the variable bacon contain after the following lines of code are run? So what will be the value in the variable bacon?
The bacon variable is set to 20.
Okay,
Sir, 21.
okay, 21. Let's see. Some few people have said 20.
Bacon plus 1 expression does not reassign
Hmm.
the value in bacon.
Yeah. So the two
It will
answers
not
that we are
assign
getting are 20 and 21. Okay. So the right answer is actually 20.
20.
Right? Why? What happens? So lines of code are run, sequentially. Okay. So first the first line will be executed. So when bacon equal to 20, what will happen? So you have bacon, right? And there is a value of 20 somewhere, and this bacon is pointing to it. Okay. So the bacon contains 20. So the next line, when it get executed, what happens? Bacon plus 1. So this is an expression, right? So bacon plus 1. So this will reduce to, so first we will be replacing bacon with whatever value bacon contains. So that is 20, then plus 1. So this will simplify to 21. So 21 value is obtained, but there is no assignment, right? So we are not doing this. We are not doing bacon equal to bacon 21. So what happens once this value 21 is obtained, it is discarded. So nothing is happening with this value. So this value is obtained and then it is thrown away because we are not doing any assignment here. So bacon is not modified. Bacon still points to 20. But if we had done this bacon plus equals 1, or we had done bacon equal to bacon plus 1. So in this case, what would have happened? This evaluated to 21 and then assigned back to bacon, and bacon would have pointed to 21 instead of this. Okay. So because we are not doing any assignment here, so the value that is contained in bacon is not affected. A new value is computed and then it is thrown away. Okay, I hope that made it clear for those who
Yes,
answered
sir.
21. Okay. Okay, question 3. What should the following two expressions evaluate to? So we are adding two strings and then we are multiplying an integer with a string.
3 times spam.
Okay, so for each of for the first one will evaluate to
They
so
both evaluate to spam.
yeah, so in both cases the output would be
Same, sir.
spam, spam, spam. Okay, so first what we are doing, we are adding two strings. When two strings are added, so they will be concatenated. Okay, so this first, you will take the first string, you will take the second string and put it next to it. Okay, so it will become spam, 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 and you will get a new string. Okay, a new string will be created when you are adding two string by concatenating those two individual strings. And then in the next case, we are multiplying an integer with 3. Integer with a string, right? So as I said, the strings are nothing but a sequence of characters, and for sequences this multiplication operation is defined. Okay, so what is the definition of a multiplication of an integer with a sequence is to repeat that sequence that many times. Okay, so we have a sequence and we multiply it with an integer n, then it will be a repetition of the sequence n times. Okay, will be repeated for n times. Okay, so because here the sequence is the set of characters SPAM, right? So that is the sequence, and we say it is multiplied by 3, it means that we have to repeat the sequence 3 times. So this will be a repetition. So the first repetition is spam 1 times, the next repetition it will be spam again, and the third repetition it will be spam for the third time, right? So the output will be a string that has spam, right? So we have achieved the same output in 2 different ways, one by addition of 2 strings and another by a repetition of a given sequence. With or without space, it will be without space. If the string itself contains the space, then it will be it will be present. But the addition itself will not addition or the multiplication itself will not introduce any new space characters.
Sir,
Yeah.
can we do subtraction similarly? Like, can we subtract from spam? Can we subtract
No,
one spam? Like that is it defined?
no, that is not defined. Only this addition and this multiplication, those are defined.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay, so question 7. Why is x a valid variable name while 100 is invalid?
Because in a variable we cannot begin with numericals.
Yeah. So the rules that we saw was alphabets, numbers, and underscore are allowed, right? So here only alphabet is there, right? So this is a perfectly valid one. So here, even though numbers are allowed in the variable names, they are not allowed to begin with a number, right? So here, since we are beginning with a number, so 100 is not a valid name, right? So if you put an underscore in the beginning, it would become valid, or if you put some character or a sequence of characters, so then it would become valid, right? So, but we cannot start with a number. So therefore, x is valid, but 100 is not. Okay, question 8. What 3 functions can be used to get the integer, floating point number, or the string version of a value? Say we take the value 3.3. Okay, we have this value 3.3. How can we get the integer of this integer value of 3.3, floating point value of 3.3, and
Using the function int, sir.
okay, int for integer, then
Float and str for other two types.
yeah. So int of 3.3, right? So that's how we get the integer value. So the output of this would be 3. So you have to be careful that you have to use smaller case, right? So it is small I, small n, small t. So all of these keywords have smaller case. So float of 3.3, there won't be any change because it's already a floating point in this case. So the output would be just 3.3 itself. And string of 3.3, we have to use str, right? So string is not string, so it is, the keyword is str. So str of 3.3 would be just the string 3.3 and within the quotes. Okay, so that's how we will be getting the integer, floating point, and the string versions. Okay, question 9. Why does the following expression cause an error, and how can you fix it? So we have a string added to an integer and then added to a string again. First, will this cause an
Instead of
error?
s, we can use comma.
Sorry,
Instead of
can you repeat your answer?
Sir, we can use comma in that case.
Comma where?
where the plus is instead of plus we can use comma.
Okay, so but the idea is to add these three, right? So what I want,
Sir,
the output is I have
Can we
eaten.
convert 99 into a string?
Yeah, so that can be done. So this is the output that I want. I'm trying to do that using this expression, right? So I want to add these three. So the error that comes up here is, so we have a string added to an int added to another string. Okay, so earlier we saw a string added to a string, right? So in the case of spam uh, plus spam, so we were adding two strings together. So in which case this addition operator is defined for two string operands, but the addition operator is not defined for a string and an integer operand, right? So in this case we have an undefined operator. So the use of this will cause an error because Python doesn't know how to add a string and an integer together. So in this case what we have to do is, instead of trying to add the integer directly to the string, so we can add the string version of the integer to the string, right? So we know how to convert the integer to string, right, as we saw earlier. So we can take I have eaten, and then instead of 99 we can add its string version, right? So I can do it string of 99, or I can directly hard code it like this, right? So within double quotes or single quotes, and then add to burritos. So in this case the output that I will get is this, right? So is that clear? So what is the error and how did we resolve it? So the error is string and integer. The addition of these two data types is not defined, so we cannot use that. So the resolution is to convert the integer into a string before we add it. Yeah, so there is an answer. We can use f string. Yeah, f strings are not introduced, right? So people may not know. So f strings are basically, so we can put the value of a variable. Suppose we had n equal to 99 and we wanted to come into uh, this string. So what we can do is, I have eaten n burritos. So this is the syntax of creating f string, right? So when we want to add the value of a variable into a string, so we can put them within this curly braces, right? So within the string, and we have to add an f at the beginning, right? So you don't have to worry about this. This is an advanced way of creating strings, okay, formatting strings. So for now, is using the concept that we have learned, this would suffice, okay, converting the integer into a string. Yeah, okay. So question number 10, again related to the variable naming. So which of these
First
is
name.
valid?
Option A.
Option
A.
A. You're saying A is valid.
No. Option
C is
B.
valid.
Yeah, no.
C is valid.
C.
Yeah,
C is
C
valid.
is valid.
C is valid. So you have to read the question. So question is asking about the valid variable name, not invalid. So the first one is invalid because it is starting with a number. Okay. So that is not allowed. Second one, this is not an underscore, this is a dash, right? So dash is not an allowed set of character to be present in a variable name. So that is also invalid. And D also has an invalid symbol, right? So at the rate is not allowed. So D is invalid. So C contains only alphabet and also underscore. So therefore no issues. So my underscore variable is a valid variable name in Python. Okay, then question number 11. What is the correct way to assign the value 10 to a variable named number? So this is about the syntax.
sir, option A.
Yeah,
Option A.
option A. Does everyone
And
agree?
A.
Yeah. So A is the right way of doing the assignments in Python. Okay. We put the variable name followed by the assignment operator,
Value.
which is equal to then the value or the expression which will evaluate to that value. Okay, so in this case we want the value 10 to be assigned to number, so number equals 10. Okay, so B we cannot do, we cannot assign a variable to a number. So colon equal to, so this is a different operator called Walvis operator, so that we will look into later. So this is not the usual way of assignment. And let number equal to 10, again let is not the keyword that we use in Python. Okay, maybe in JavaScript, but not in Python. Okay, so BCD is not the way, A is the way to do the assignment. Okay, question 12, which of the following data types is used to represent text in Python?
C.
String.
Yeah.
STR.
So STR is the keyword for the string data type.
The data type in Python.
Sorry.
Option C is correct.
Yeah, option C. It will be used, in a very localized context. For example, if we are using it to reduce the scope, for example, if number colon equals 10, and then you have the scope for this if, so this number is number evaluates to 10 within that scope. So that's strictly speaking, it's a valid way of assigning it. But when we are talking in a general context, right? So when we are talking about assignment, it will be number equals 10.
आइए सचिव जी आइए कुर्सी में आइए आइए
Yeah, so as she was saying, so number colon equals 10 can is also used for assignment, but in a very in a specific context, right? So when you want to limit the scope of that variable to a particular scope within the program, for example in the case of conditionals, so we'll be using that.
आइए बैठिए आइए
So please do not share your screens. Yeah, sorry for that. Yeah, so technically speaking, C also can be used to assign the value 10 to number, but within a specific context. But based on what we have learned, so I'd go with option A. Okay. Yeah. Let underscore number equals 10, is it allowed? Yeah, so let underscore number, so what will happen in that case if I say let number equals 10? So in this case, I'm creating a variable called let underscore number. Okay, so in this case there is a space, but if I put an underscore instead of the space, so this is a valid way of creating a variable called let underscore number. But the question was to create a variable named number, right? So therefore let underscore number changes the name of the variable, right? So that's not what we wanted. Okay, so any other questions?
Sir.
Yeah. Okay, so question 12 we did. Question 13, what is the output of the following code? So we have x equals 5.
Sir, option A.
Option A.
8.
Print
8, sir.
Option A is correct.
Yeah, option A, the value 8 will be the output. So what happens here? So first we are creating a variable x. Okay, so there is a value 5. So x points to 5. Then there is a variable y which points to a value 3. And then we have a call to the print function with x plus y.
Function x plus y.
Yeah, so what happens? Print x plus y. So first, this is an expression, right? So this has to be evaluated down to a single value. So x would be replaced with its value, y will be replaced with its value, and 5 plus 3 addition will simplify this to 8. Okay, and then what happens is print of 8 will occur, right? So print of 8, so print will just output whatever is the input that is given to it, right? So print of 8 would give us the output of 8. Okay, so therefore the output is 8. Okay, question 14 is which operator is used for exponentiation in Python?
Option A.
Option A.
Yeah, so option A, we use the double asterisk to do the exponentiation. Okay, so caret symbol is not used, right? So we use, when we are writing it, so we will sometimes use the caret symbol to represent powers, right? So 2 power 3 like this, but in Python we
The
do not
power
use
of
that.
the number.
So double slash is for floor division,
Floor
and
division.
modulo is for getting the
Modulo
remainder.
is for division.
Yeah, so double asterisk is used for powers, right? So 2 2 double asterisk 3 is 2 cube. Okay, so that's how we do it. Question number 15 is what is the result of the expression 5 mod 2?
B. 1. F. G. Z. F.
One.
B, sir.
Yeah,
F. 0.
Option A is correct.
option A. Okay,
Option B.
A.
Option B.
Yeah, most people say B.
Option B is correct.
Okay, some
Option
say
B.
A. So what happens? So what does this modulo do? So what does mod? So this is for getting the remainder of the division operation. Remainder of division operation. Okay, so when you divide
Option B
5 by
is
2, what
correct.
happens? Okay, so you get a quotient of 2 and you get a remainder of
And remainder is
1,
1.
right? So 2 mod 5, right? So this 5 is here and this 2 is here, right? So this would be the remainder. Okay, this is equal to the remainder, so which is 1. Okay, so modulo will give you the remainder of the division operation, right? So when you divide, sorry, it will be 5 mod 2, the other way around. Okay, so when you divide 5 by 2, you get a quotient of 2 and a remainder of 1, and the modulo will give you the remainder. So the right answer is option B. So if you want the quotient, you should do 5 floor division. Okay, 5 floor division, this will give you 2. This will give you the quotient. Okay, the percentage or the modulo operator will give you the remainder. Okay, therefore the right answer is option B. Okay, question 16 is which operator is used for the floor division in Python?
Option B.
Option B.
Yeah.
Option B.
Option B.
Yes.
Double
Option B
Option B is here.
is the floor division.
Option B is the right answer.
Yeah. So option A is just a division. So in which case you will get the decimal part as well. So 5 by 2. So this would be 2.5, right? So whereas 5 floor division will give you 2, only the quotient. Okay, so that's the difference between the division and the floor division.
Excuse me. In this
Yeah.
question, we are not taking.
Sorry.
In this floor division, we are not taking the floating values.
Yeah. So floor division will not give you the floating value. It will give you the quotient of the division operation.
Division operation.
It will not give you the remainder part or the fractional part. Only the quotient part. So if there is any remainder, so that will be ignored. Because 5 is 2 times 2 plus 1. So this remainder part is ignored. Only the quotient 2 is taken. Okay, question 17. What data type is used to represent decimal numbers in Python?
Option B.
Float.
Yeah.
Option B, sir.
Option B.
Yes, option B, float. So integer, int is for integers, right? So whole numbers. Float is for decimal values. String for text. And boolean is for
True and false.
binary, true or false.
Option.
So float is the right answer. Question 18. What is the output of the following code? So read it carefully. X is the string hello. Y is the string
Hello space
Hello.
world.
That is option B, sir.
Option B. Okay. Any other answers?
Option
Option A, sir.
Option A. Okay.
It will give error.
Error. Okay. So we have three answers: A, B, error. It seems most people are saying B. Okay. So what happens? Let's again simplify this. Okay. So print of x plus a string with a single white space character plus y. Okay. So when we want to first simplify this, what will happen? So first we have to replace the variable with their values. So what is x? X is the string hello. So this is added to another string which contains one white space character. Then y is a string world. Okay. Now first y error won't come because what we are doing here, we are trying to add strings only, right? So the addition operator is defined for string operands, right? So as we had seen earlier. So when we did spam question, so we were adding two strings, right? So this is valid way, right? So this is defined in Python. So what plus does is just concatenates the two strings, right? So again here the plus is working on one string and it is working on another string. So Python knows how to add two strings. So here 2 and 3. So these two also are strings. So Python knows how to handle this. So this is not going to result in an error. Okay, so that's why option D is not right. So then what happens? Again, it's because plus it doesn't matter in which order we are going to add, right? So because addition will come under equal precedence, right? So plus and plus, they have equal precedence, so the order does not matter here. So we'll assume that it is going from left to right. Okay, so first when hello is added to this white space, what happens? We'll get a new string that contains that starts with hello and contains white space at the end, and then it will be world. Right, so this is what this reduces to, and finally we are adding these two strings now. So it will be first string hello with a space, and then this is containing world, so that will be added. So this is the output, right? So this is the final string value. So hello followed by a space followed by world. So that is given in option B. So when I said the white space is not added, it is not added by Python itself, right? So when you're adding these two strings, spam, so we did not get white space because these two strings did not contain white space to begin with, right? So there is no space in the end or no space at the beginning, right? So that's why when it was concatenated, there was no white space. But here we are explicitly adding a white space in the middle, right? So that's why we are getting a white space in the end also, because we have added it. If we just did x plus y, print of x plus y, then the right answer would have been option A, right? So but because we are explicitly adding a white space in the middle, so the output will also contain the white space in the middle. Okay, any other questions?
Sir, can we use minus?
Sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, can we use minus instead of plus operator?
No, we cannot use minus. Minus is not defined for string operands. So hello minus world is not defined. Hello minus world will give you an error.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
This will result in error. Because we don't know how to subtract two strings. Python doesn't know how to subtract two strings. So it's not defined.
Sir, I have a doubt.
Yeah.
Sir, what is the difference between commenting thing or giving it inside a couple double quote? Double string.
I did not catch it completely. If I please correct me if I got it correctly. What is the difference between commenting and using double quotes, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
ट्रिपल डबल को इनसाइड मतलब उसके अंदर जब अपन रखते तो कमेंट हो जाता है
Double quotes. So what do you mean by? Can you
ट्रिपल डबल को सर I'm
can you
talking
write
about
put an example in the chat? What do you mean by double quotes? Some example using what you want to say. Okay. So double quotes I versus using so these two are not same. Okay. So what does this hash symbol do is it comments out the line of code. For example, so in this program we are having x equal to hello, y equal to world. So suppose if I had put a hash here. So what it will do is Python will ignore the line of will ignore that line of code, right? So it will not try to do this assignment here. It will skip that line and then move to the next line. So only the variable y will be created, and this print statement would have been tried to be executed. Okay, so this hash is used for
But the
skipping lines
hash
of code.
is used for comment portion, na?
Sorry.
Hash we will use for commenting.
Yes, exactly. So what I'm saying is this x equal to hello is considered to be a comment by Python, right? So what the intended use is to tell to explain what that line of code does, right? So x is equal to hello. So what we would do is ideally add a comment before it, right? So creating and then write a message, creating a variable named x, something like this, right? So we want to tell what that next line of code does or next set of line does. So that's where we will be using comments. But we can also create comments. We can comment out well-defined lines of code. Like this is also a valid comment only. So what happens is Python doesn't treat this line and this line any differently. So for Python, both these are comment lines and both these lines will be skipped. So comments are given in the code only for the understanding of the programmer, right? So for our benefit, we are introducing this command. From Python's point of view, both these lines are same, right? So they both are starting with the hash and therefore they are not processed. They are both skipped. So why we do such kind of comments on a code line is because when we are writing the program and we want to test out different things. For example, we have some logic, say down the line that does some calculation, right? Some formulas there, say so print a square plus 2ab. Okay, so this is what we want to evaluate. Okay, so we have say a is equal to 2, b is equal to 3, and again let's say a is equal to 5, right? So we want to test out what will be the value of a plus b the whole square. So we have written the formula for it. Okay, so you want to know what will be the value of this a plus b whole squared when a is something and b is something. Okay, so initially let us say we did like this. Okay, a is equal to 2, b equal to 3, and then there is a hash a equal to 5. So in this case, what will happen is Python will create a equal to 2, b equal to 3, then it will skip a equal to 5. It will not reassign or change the value of a because it is starting with hash, right? So this is a comment line, and Python will skip this line, then it will go to print, and it will print a plus b whole square, right? So 2 plus 3 squared, so 5 squared, 25 will be the output. Okay, so but now we want to quickly change, test out, and change what would be the value of 5 plus 3 square. So in that case, what we can do is add a hash here and then remove the hash here. So in this case, what will happen is Python will skip the first line now, right? And it will create a variable called b, its value of 3, and it will create a variable a with the value of 5, and your output would be 5 plus 3 squared, right? 8 squared, 64. So we can quickly change different parts of a code, right? So we can, like, it's like turning on and turning off certain parts of the code, right? So that's where this comments are. This is like additional usage of the comments. So I could have easily changed this by changing the value also, but I'm just giving this example to illustrate how we can use the comments to turn off certain portions of the code, when we are like doing testing initially.
Sir, I have a doubt, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, when you just take it as x equal to hello as a comment statement, then the print of x plus y will be an error, is it?
Yeah. So in that case, it will be an error because x is not defined. Is there a multi-line comment option? So there is no separate multi-line comment option. So if you want to create multiple lines, you have to put hash in front of each of the comment lines. The other option that people will use is to create a
We
multi-line
use
string.
double hash also.
Sorry?
For multiple comments, we use double hash also, na?
No. This is basically the same. So double hash doesn't make it a multi-line comment. It's just a comment line starting with a hash. So after the first hash, everything is ignored. So when I have, say, hash a equals 5, then in the next line, if I had b equal to 3, so still only this line is considered to be a comment. B equal to 3 is not a comment.
Sir, before we use variables, we have to declare it. Is it not?
Yeah. So
we
in
have to
Python,
declare
we
it
don't
as
have such conditions, right? So like in C++, you may have to do like this. But because Python is dynamically typed, you don't have to define the type of the data beforehand. So directly doing a equal to 5 is valid.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. So there is no separate declaration and definition. Directly you can define the variable. And just to complete, this multi-line comments can be achieved using the triple quoted strings. You can just use the string itself as a comment, right? Okay, any other questions before we move on?
Sir, can you help me with the code I have sent in the comments? It is not working properly. It is giving a module not found error.
Okay, if it is giving module not found, probably it's not properly installed. Win32.com, you have to look into the installation of this library. So if it is not able to find it, it's not properly installed. You may have to install that first.
Sir, I am using Python and the server is not properly running. So I can't import it from the server. So what is the another way to do it in Python?
Yeah, you try to install it. So if it is available on PyPy, so are you aware of PyPy, PYPI, Python Packaging Index?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, if it is available, if this Win32.com is a package available in PyPy, you can just do a pip install. So I'm putting it in the chat.
Sir.
Pip install Win32.com if it is the package name. Yeah.
Sir, the package name is PyWin32.
Okay, thank you for that. So you can try pip install Win32. So first install PyWin32 and then try it.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, so how many operators does string can define? So it's not how many it can define, it must have been previously defined, or you should define it yourself. So we are not covered how you can do override the operators yourself. So right, I only the plus and the multiplication operation are defined for string with other strings or integers. So this will both plus would concatenate two strings, and multiplication with an integer would just repeat that string that many number of times. Okay, any other questions?
No, sir.
Okay, moving on to question 19. Which data type is used to represent Boolean values in Python?
Bool. Option D.
Option D.
Option D.
Option D, sir.
Right. So other three we have already seen. So bool stands for Boolean, so which can only represent two values, one of two values, either true or false. Okay, question 20. Which of the following is a valid way to declare multiple variables in a single line in Python?
All of the above.
All of the above.
Option A.
Okay, option A.
I think option A is right, sir.
Okay.
Option A is right, sir.
All right. Option A.
Option A is right.
Option A, sir.
So everyone says option A. Any other? Is there any other right option?
Sir, what about option C?
Option C. Okay.
Option D.
Okay. I think we have got everything. All right. So which of this? So option A is correct. Okay. So when you want to create multiple variables in one line, you can do this. So you separate all these variables using comma, and then equal to, you give the values also separated by comma. So in this case, what will happen is, this is same as saying x is equal to 1, y equals to 2, z equals to hello. Right? So this is how it will be assigned. So the first value will be assigned to the first variable, the second value to the second variable, and third value to the third variable. You have to separate the variables and the values by comma on either side of the assignment operator. So A is the correct way. So B is also correct. So B also can be done. So when you use semicolons, so Python will consider this to be a separate command, and this to be the next command, and this is the third command. So each of this is like executing the commands one by one. So semicolon is used to denote the end of a single command. Okay, so this is also equivalent to doing this. So this is like even though this is done in a single line, it is actually multiple lines of multiple commands chained together in a single line. Okay, so it is like executing multiple commands one after the other, but written in a single line. Okay, so instead of doing this one by one, so it's still doing it one by one, but it is written in a single line. So the question was to do it in a single line in Python. So this way also I can do it in a single line. C is not correct because we are not separating it with comma or the semicolon, right? So x is equal to 1 is one command. Then there is a white space, right? So this is not allowed. When you cannot just chain two commands using white space, you have to use the semicolon to denote where the first command ends and the next command begins. So C will give you an error. So because C is not right, all the above is also not right. So option A and B are valid ways in which we can do multiple lines of variable creations in a single line.
Sir,
yeah,
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why not option C? Because we can applicable here is ternary operator. Then we know that ternary operator is using our program in one line can execute.
Yeah, but C is not a ternary operator. C is just use of the assignment operators. X equal to 1 space, y equal to 2 space, z equal to hello. Here there is no ternary operator, just three assignments separated by space. So that is not a valid way of doing it. So this will result in an error.
ஐயோ பைத்தியக்கார தலை. அசைன்மெண்ட் கொடுக்குறாரா?
Okay, so moving on. So only a few more questions. What is the data type of this
Complex.
expression? Yeah,
Complex.
complex value.
Complex, sir.
Complex.
Yeah, so this is a because it has a real and an imaginary part, so it's a complex value. Okay, 22. Consider this code. What is the data type of y? X is a string.
Integer.
Int.
Yeah,
Int.
it's integer because x is, even though x is a string, we are first converting that string into an integer, and what gets assigned to y is the integer value of that string. So y would be is 5, right? So that is integer. The data type of y is 5. Okay, what is the result of the expression true and not false?
True.
Yes, sir.
True.
Okay.
True.
True.
Okay, so what happens here is first not false gets evaluated. Okay, not is a unary operator, right? So it first operates on a single operand. So not false will become true because not will reverse that boolean value. So it will be finally true and true, and will return true if both are true, right? So the final value will become true. So A is the right answer. Okay, 24. So x is 5, y is 2, x
2.
Okay.
2, sir. Option B.
Yeah.
So option B.
So what happens here? So z equals 2. X is 5. Floor division 2, right? So floor division will give you the quotient. So this will be 2. 25. Which of the following operator has the highest precedence? So which means which will be occurring first?
Explanation. Option C.
Option C.
Sir, option C.
Yeah. So among the given operators, exponentiation has the highest precedence. Question 26. What is the output of this following code?
Option C. 2.
2. E.
Yeah.
2.
So 2.
Yeah.
Option
B.
Why?
Option B.
Because we are using the modulo operator, so that gives us the remainder. So z is x is 5 mod 3. So it is what? 1 times 3 plus 2, right? So 2 is the remainder. So 2 will be the output. The quotient is 1, but the remainder is 2, and modulo will return the remainder. Okay, so that's all that we have for this week. I think we have covered all the concepts. Hope you got all your doubts cleared. If you have any other doubts, you can ask.
Yes,
Sir,
How we can mark the attendance?
There is no separate attendance for these sessions. So we will not be marking the attendance. Yeah.
Okay, so the assignment only is to be done.
Yeah. Only the assignments you have to do it before the deadline.
Thank you, sir, for the nice session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
And
you.
nice explanation.
Sir, I have a
Thank you, sir.
question.
Yeah. If you have
Sir,
question, ask. Yeah.
Sir, I missed the previous live streams. Can I watch it now?
Yeah.
If
So
there
those
is-
live streams recordings will be made available on YouTube. The links will be shared through a Google Sheet. So you
Okay.
can watch those in the respective channels.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, another.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, one more.
Yeah.
In examination, what type of questions they will ask?
Similar to like how you are doing it in the assignments, right? So the same kind of questions.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you all. So if you have any
you, sir.
questions, you can ask. Otherwise, if you have no questions, you are free. Feel free to leave.
Sir, can we?
Yeah, one at a time, please. You can maybe raise your hands and then I can call in that order.
What is the mode of examination? It is completely what it is written.
Examination pattern, I'm not sure. You'll have to ask the NPTEL. Mostly it would be MCQs, I guess. I don't know if there'll be any coding questions. I'm not sure. You'll have to contact NPTEL support and they'll be able to help you.
So we have exam on August or September, sir?
It is September.
Okay.
Sir, it will be based on what you thought, right, sir?
Yeah. So based on the lecture content. So I am preparing these based on the lecture content. So you go through the videos that are uploaded every week. Okay, do all the assignments, and yeah, these sessions are also based on those content. So your examination will also be based on the lecture content only.
It is from IIT Madras, right, sir?
Yeah. So the videos are available on the Swayam portal, the NPTEL portal.
Okay.
Nitish, do you have a question?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
So can we expect these type of questions till now what we have solved in exam?
Maybe, I am not sure if this will be in the final exam, but at least in the assignments you'll have these kind of questions.
Okay, sir.
Nitish, Divya, you have raised your hand. Do you have a question?
Sir, is it possible to convert string to integer or float or boolean?
Yeah, good question. It is possible if it is if the string contains a valid integer or a floating point value. For example, we can convert the string 5, say this is a, so you can convert this into an integer because the string is containing a valid integer value. So this is possible. But if a was like this, 5a, so in this case int of a would result in an error. Similar rule apply for the floating point as well. So if the string contains it's a representation of a integer or a floating point value, then we can convert it into int or float. But if it is containing something in addition to that, right, so in that case we will not be able to convert it.
Okay, so thank you.
Avinash, do you have a question?
Yeah, the exam will be or completely based paper.
Yeah, for all the exam related questions, please contact NPTEL support. They'll be able to help you. I'm not aware of the exam related things, so you can contact them.
Sir, exam is theory based or MCQ based?
Yeah, again, for all the examination questions, please contact NPTEL. Okay, Nitish, Arun, do you have any questions? A previous session link, they'll be shared. So the YouTube channel link will be shared. Okay, so if there are no further questions, we can wrap up today's session. Okay, thank you all for attending. We'll continue the session every week. Okay,
Sir,
yeah.
Sir, 1 minute.
Okay, go ahead.
I have installed Jupyter Notebook on my computer.
Okay.
I have got this error. Can you please rectify it?
Okay, not recognized. Probably you would have installed this in a virtual environment.
Oh, no, sir. Okay, I want to create a virtual environment, then I want to install it, right?
Yeah, no, if you so when you're typing Jupyter is not recognized, it's probably already installed in a virtual environment and you're trying to run it from outside the virtual environment.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, so wherever you're trying to invoke this Jupyter command, so in that same location you try to install Jupyter using like pip install Jupyter.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you.
Or if you want to create a virtual environment, what you can do is you can do the command that I am typing. So when you do python -m when space vim, it will create a folder called venv. So that is your virtual environment. Then you'll have
Okay,
to
sir.
activate the virtual environment. That you can do it using this command when /script/activate. I am assuming you are on Windows system.
Yes, sir. I'm on Windows.
Yeah. Then if you do this when scripts activate, it will activate your virtual environment. And within that virtual environment, you can install Jupyter Notebook.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
If
Thank
it
you,
is a
sir.
pip install, then you can type Jupyter. It will work.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
when is the next session?
Yeah, next session will again. My session will be on Sundays, 6 to 8 p.m. There are 3 other sessions as well, but my session will be on Sundays, 6 to 8.
Okay, sir.
So where we
Every
can
day
find the recorded sessions?
Yeah, recorded sessions will be uploaded to YouTube. The link will be shared. So it's not shared yet. Once it is uploaded, the links will be shared.
Where we can find that links?
It will be on the course page. It will be added to the course page. On Google Sheet will be given. Within the Google Sheet, you'll be able to find the YouTube link. Check the Swayam portal page of this course.
Sir,
Yeah.
the session will be conducted daily or
Not
only
daily. It's on 4 days a week. So different sessions are handled by different TAs. So there is a session on Tuesday, one on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So there are 4 sessions. So it is not every day. It's on 4 days of the week: Tuesdays, Fridays, Saturday, and Sunday.
So the last date to join the course is tomorrow, right?
I'm not sure. Please check the portal.
Yeah, they said like that.
Yeah,
And they mentioned the date also.
Okay. Or maybe it is for the exam registration. I'm not sure.
Okay. After the date, we can't watch the videos, right?
No, the videos will be available till the end of the course. So you can, so every week's, you can go back and watch the previous week's video as well.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay.
Where we can find this one, sir? Like the slides.
These slides, yeah. The YouTube link along with the slide link to these slides will be updated in the Google Sheet that will be available on the portal. So once these are uploaded, it will be updated in the portal.
Okay. Like within how many days it will upload?
Probably by next week, sometime next week. Okay, I think that should do for today. So there aren't any further questions, so we can wrap up today's session. Okay, thank you all for attending. So we'll meet again on Sunday, okay, 6 p.m. Yeah, all the best for your assignments. Thank you for attending.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.